Let's take a little stop and break and see if we can raise any questions about the icons or the commandments, or how did Augustine pull that one off? I'm not sure. Or what he had in mind exactly. Yes.
Do icons and pictures have a lot to do with the illiteracy and the population at that time, so that they could visualize and maybe understand?
Maybe a very good point, and it probably is today as well, that the icons provide, that they're a sermon to the eye, that's for sure. And I think there could be a lot to that, but they were a very valuable tool for that. Hadn't thought about it exactly, but I think so. Yeah.
Just on the back of what he's saying, that's what we heard, beautiful stained glass windows, cathedral, and what do they call them, icons or pictures. It was all because, as he said, illiteracy. That this is a way of teaching the gospel, where they couldn't read, but they could, see pictures.
And the stained glass did the same, had the same effect. Yeah, David.
Incense is used in the church. Is that just something that's used, or is there any liturgical significance?
Yeah, again, it's the use of all of the senses that are used in the praise and worship of God, and that's a good point. I hadn't brought that up, but definitely expand on
the
that.
elevation of the prayers.
Yes,
the incense it
rises up.
Hebrews, is it? It's in Scripture.
That our prayers rise up before you as incense and the lifting up of our
exactly.
Yeah, but that's because if you do worship in the Orthodox, you notice that, Ellen, when you take the scouts?
Oh yeah, the incense is and a lot of bell ringing.
Okay.
And yes, the icons. It happened to be the Sunday that we were there was Icon Sunday. I didn't know it ahead of time, and they processed the icons all around the sanctuary.
Of that local parish.
Yeah, it was right over there.
Yes. Yeah. And isn't it interesting in Rochester, how many churches, I was going to count them up one time, but I don't. How many do we have? 40, 50, 60 at least. How many? We got 10 plus Lutherans. Yeah. How many Orthodox? One. One Orthodox church, yeah.
Is there a special formula for doing the icons? Because they always have videos around the holy person, and their eyes always seem to just, when you stand and look at them, they just draw you in the picture. The eyes are so prominent and so cute.
A good observation, and I don't know enough about it, but I think there is a prescribed way of doing icons, and you're right, all of them you see have there's certain consistencies in the way the painter has done an icon. We'll talk next time about Rublev, who does the icon of the Holy Trinity. But so there is a consistency. You want to explore that for us, like Vern does, give something. Find out a little bit more about that for us. That would be a good thing to do. We got another.
How do they celebrate the March 11th? Is it quite elaborate?
Again, I don't know what is done about that, but I would, if it's as significant as it is historically, it must be celebrated in ways that March. I will look into that one. I'll take responsibility to check into that one. Yes.
Now, at Easter time, they march around the church outdoors. Do they take the icons out when they march? I know they do here too. They go around the church like, I don't know, a certain prescribed number of times.
Okay. And that often gets some publicity in the paper, isn't it? I mean, that's often acknowledged. Yeah.
So that was Icon Sunday. The day that I was there was Icon Sunday. It was March 11th, and that's when they marched the icons
so
around.
that's what they referred to it as icons.
Icon Sunday.
Okay. And that was their orthodoxy. Yeah. Okay.
In the sanctuary itself.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yes, Lois.
You mentioned this triumph of orthodoxy. Was there a person, you said, that kind of led this triumph
Yeah, the empress was Theodora, and really had a strong role. Again, she played the role of the emperor and the empress, and really ordered, as I understand history, ordered the patriarchs of the church to restore icons to the full place in the life of the church. I'm going to take one more little quick look at a character, and I think then we're going to wrap it up for today, and then next week we're going to take the journey that will take us up into Kiev and to Moscow in the life of the church. But before we do that, take a little look at a Patriarch Photios, P-H-O-T-I-O-S. He had a reign as patriarch, not as the emperor, but as the patriarch from about 863 to almost 890 in that span of time. But he brought a new and exciting vigor to the whole empire. He had a vision, a great vision. He was one of the most gifted and creative men to ever occupy that role in the life of the church. It is said that he is responsible for a literary work that is without parallel in the ancient world. It's a summary and review of 400 of the masterpieces of literature that had been written up to that point in time, that he read those in his early life and put those together in a significant way. He endured the hostility of a former patriarch, Ignatius, and it's interesting how rivalry plays a role in the life of the church. Then it never happens today. But that rivalry was so difficult that Photios was removed for a time as patriarch, and then came back and assumed that responsibility again. His service as patriarch also coincided with a succession of very, very capable emperors that lasted over the span of a couple centuries, and it's a real high point in the Byzantine Empire, this time when Photios was the patriarch and a number of excellent emperors. He was not a scholar in the Latin language, and he really did not have a lot of fondness for the Catholic Pope in Rome. And in the papacy at that time was Nicholas I, and he was only too ready to make trouble for the patriarch. And you read the history, and those are two tremendous egos that were at work in the East and the West at that point in time. There were many also who were working at playing off those Christians in the East and the West, but at least in the year 867, Patriarch Photios and Pope Nicholas excommunicated each other. Now, how you do that is a difficult question, but it was a serious, but it was not the permanent break with the church. That's going to come a couple of centuries later. They still continued to function. Although Photios really claimed after that the title the ecumenical patriarch, the one who is patriarch of the whole church, and understood his role to be that. There was another success that Photios had that is extremely important, and that is his missionary strategy. He really saw a calling to reach out to the Slavic people. And so when you take back a look at this map again and find Constantinople, and you move north and you get into Bulgaria, Serbia, Moldavia, Moravia, and then ultimately get up into the people of Rus, into Kiev, and later into Moscow. And so he was largely responsible for the kind of exciting missionary life that begins to happen in the life of the church. Two brothers came out of Thessalonica, Cyril and Methodius. And we'll pick up our story with them next time and wrap that up with another section at 10:30. And I think it will be back down in this same location. Yes?
I was thinking about your, wondering about why Augustine changed over.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly,
Augustine was not knowledgeable of Greek. And the Western Church relied on Latin. And I wonder how much influence the lack of Greek and Hebrew played into that. And also the anti-Semitism of the period. I would venture there's a hand at play there.
Might you check that out?
Take my assignment, sir.
Sounds good.
That sounds good, doesn't it?
Hey, good to have you all here, and thanks for coming, and look forward to seeing you next week, and we'll wrap it up then. Go in peace and serve the Lord.
Thanks be to God.